The sky changed in a single breath. At 0317, every inactive satellite above Earth powered on at the exact same second. No warning, no countdown. Observatories first blamed a solar glitch, but the sun was calm. Perfectly calm. The disturbance was deliberate. Inside the underground control chamber, technicians watched dead feeds return to life. Satellites retired years ago were now transmitting clean, synchronized data. Not static. Not corruption. Structure. Dr. Elias Ward leaned closer to the waveform. Beneath the carrier tone, he heard a slow pulse entering the audio stream. Steady. Mechanical. Like a heartbeat pressing against the edge of hearing. Then a voice formed. "You asked who we are." No accent, no distortion, each word precise. Across the country, devices activated without permission. Sleeping phones lit up. Dark televisions switched on. Car radios in empty parking garages began playing the same transmission. Air traffic control reported slight navigation drift across multiple aircraft. Only centimeters. Too small for panic. Too exact for coincidence. Elias magnified the signal, expecting encryption. Instead, he found layered geometry repeating in harmonic intervals. It was not language in human format. It was rotation translated into sound. Dimensional pattern compressed into something minds could barely process. The voice continued. "We are the reply." Gravitational monitors registered a faint anomaly. Not enough to shake cities, enough to shift orbital measurements. Satellites were correcting position at the same time, all drifting upward by microscopic degrees. Outside the facility, the stars appeared normal, yet long exposure cameras showed micro-adjustments. Constellations tightening their spacing, brightness shifting in coordinated rhythm. Elias felt pressure build behind his eyes. The room had not moved, but his sense of direction tilted. Instruments confirmed space was stable. The reference frame was not. In Nevada, sealed corridors beneath the desert registered new heat signatures. Areas declared inactive years ago showed internal fluctuations. No doors opened, no alarms triggered. Just movement where nothing should move. Back in the control room, every global video feed froze for 2 seconds. When the image returned, Earth appeared unchanged, yet orbital scans revealed a faint envelope surrounding the planet. Thinner than atmosphere, previously invisible. Alignment phase initiated. The message replaced secure military encryption worldwide. Systems were not hacked. They were superseded. Alignment with what someone whispered. No answer followed. Above the horizon, star brightness shifted again, forming a pattern too large for any single mind to read. For a fraction of a second, Earth cast 2 shadows in high-altitude imaging. One normal, one displaced. Something had positioned itself behind the sun, and it had been there far longer than anyone understood. The second shadow did not disappear. High-altitude imaging captured it for 3 full seconds before the anomaly vanished. Earth rotated normally. Solar data remained calm. Yet a displaced darkness trailed the planet at an impossible angle. Dr. Elias Ward ordered a deep space scan beyond the solar corona. Telescopes detected no mass. Thermal arrays found no heat signature. Radar returned empty vacuum. Whatever followed Earth reflected nothing. Inside the transmission, the mechanical pulse accelerated. The steady rhythm shifted upward in measured increments. Not random. Ascending. Across the country, subtle irregularities spread. Migratory birds altered direction mid-flight. Ocean buoys recorded uniform pressure rise without storm activity. Autonomous vehicles corrected compass drift by fractional degrees. Each change minor alone. Together impossible. Elias converted the geometric layer of the signal into visual projection. A rotating lattice unfolded across the main screen. At first abstract, then recognizable. Its curves mirrored Earth magnetic field lines. It was mapping resonance. Population density clusters brightened on the projection. Global neural activity overlays matched the signal intersections in real time. The system was not tracking land. It was tracing consciousness. The voice returned. Alignment requires coherence. This time the words vibrated through hardware itself. Audio channels were bypassed. Monitors hummed faintly. Light fixtures trembled. Military command attempted full isolation. Fiber backbones were severed. Satellite uplinks shut down. External networks physically disconnected. The signal continued unaffected. Infrastructure was not carrying it. Infrastructure was responding to it. In Nevada, sealed underground corridors registered internal temperature increase and magnetic fluctuation. Long, silent metal surfaces emitted low harmonic tones. No visible source, just resonance. Elias felt pressure expand behind his eyes. Not pain, expansion. Others reported the same sensation, as if thoughts were being stretched thin across distance. Atomic clocks across multiple facilities displayed nanosecond variants simultaneously. Too small for civilians, critical for precision systems. On screen, the spherical lattice began tightening around the planet. Not crushing, compressing spatial tolerance between coordinates. The faint envelope surrounding Earth brightened slightly, barely detectable yet measurable. Then every monitor displayed a single line. Phase 2 begins. Sunlight sensors worldwide recorded a fractional dimming. Weather satellites showed no obstruction, yet luminosity decreased together across continents. High-altitude imaging refreshed. The second shadow was no longer trailing. It was merging. The merging did not bring darkness, it brought stillness. For a brief moment, every outbound satellite transmission stopped at the same time. Signals were still received, but nothing left orbit. The planet felt as if it had inhaled and refused to breathe out. Inside the control chamber, Elias watched global routing maps freeze. Civilian networks showed synchronized delay spikes. Military relays looped internally without external confirmation. No alarms triggered, no breach detected. The envelope around Earth brightened slightly on spectral filters, invisible to the eye yet measurable across multiple instruments. The pulse inside the signal continued rising in frequency, slow, controlled, intentional. Across the country, subtle changes spread. Flocks of birds shifted direction mid-flight. Coastal wind speeds dropped without meteorological cause. Ocean buoys reported uniform pressure variation across thousands of miles. Individually harmless, collectively structured. Elias converted the embedded geometry into a visual model. A rotating lattice appeared above the projection table, its curvature aligned with Earth magnetic field bands. Nodes of intensity formed over densely populated regions. It was not mapping landmass, it was mapping coherence. Neural monitoring facilities reported brief synchronization events among unrelated subjects. Heart rate variability patterns tightened across distant hospitals at the same time. No seizures, no loss of consciousness, just momentary alignment. Military engineers attempted deeper isolation. Backup grids disconnected, independent generators activated, external receivers dismantled from core servers. The transmission persisted. It was not entering through hardware. Hardware was responding to a surrounding condition. In Nevada, underground chambers registered resonance escalation. Metallic structures emitted low harmonic vibration that matched the accelerating pulse. Heat signatures increased in sealed corridors without visible source. Elias felt pressure behind his eyes shift into clarity. Thought seemed sharper yet thinner, stretched across distance. Others in the room reported identical sensations. Global positioning systems recalibrated fractional coordinates without issuing error codes. Survey networks adjusted baseline measurements silently. Atomic time references displayed minimal deviation across continents. On the main screen, the lattice began anchoring at specific terrestrial points. Major population centers stabilized as luminous nodes. The planetary envelope tightened, but no crushing force registered. It behaved like a filter refining distortion. Then every terminal displayed a new system line. Coherence entering Phase 3. Solar luminosity appeared to dip again, though solar output metrics remained constant. The dimming originated within the envelope itself. High-altitude imaging refreshed. The second shadow was no longer separate. It had synchronized. Synchronization did not feel violent, it felt inevitable. As the second shadow stabilized within the planetary envelope, global data fluctuation narrowed further. Random noise across communication spectra decreased measurably. Background radiation interference compressed into tighter bands as if filtered. Inside the control chamber, silence deepened. Analysts stopped speaking not by instruction but instinct. Elias watched the lattice projection slow its rotation. Anchor nodes over major cities brightened with steady intensity. Rural regions followed seconds later. It was cascading through population density. Across the country, millions experienced a brief moment of heightened awareness. Conversations paused mid-sentence. Drivers slowed without understanding why. Screens flickered and then steadied with sharper clarity. Sound seemed cleaner, as if static had been removed from reality itself. Medical centers reported synchronized heartbeat regularization among intensive care patients, variability reduced without pharmaceutical cause. Surgeons noted steadier hands. Air traffic controllers described a sudden mental clarity. In Nevada, underground resonance shifted from vibration to tone. A sustained frequency filled the sealed corridors. Sensors recorded alignment between the tone and the rising global pulse. Whatever had positioned itself beyond the sun was no longer distant. It was integrated. Elias overlaid atmospheric ionization charts with the lattice model. The patterns matched. The envelope was stabilizing electromagnetic turbulence generated by human activity. Cities that once produced chaotic spikes now appeared smoother on global scans. Power grids displayed minor automatic recalibrations. Voltage variance decreased. Signal latency across fiber networks shortened by milliseconds. Financial trading servers reported unprecedented synchronization across exchanges without deliberate coordination. This was not invasion. This was correction. The pulse accelerated again but no longer felt foreign. Staff inside the chamber described a shared rhythm in their breathing. Fear diminished, replaced by expanding stillness. Global positioning arrays performed another silent correction, adjusting coordinates by fractional increments. Survey satellites confirmed Earth rotation remained constant. No mass displacement occurred. The change existed in relational space, not physical matter. A new line replaced previous system text across all terminals. Stability requires acceptance. Elias understood then that resistance would register as distortion. The lattice was not forcing compliance. It was amplifying harmony and smoothing chaos. Humanity was being tuned like an instrument gradually brought into pitch. Outside the facility, dawn light appeared unusually crisp. Edges defined, colors slightly deeper. High-altitude imaging scanned beyond the solar glare once more. Nothing blocked the sun now, because whatever had been there was no longer behind it. It was everywhere at once. The hum of the abandoned station echoed through the metal corridors, each vibration a reminder that we weren't alone. I gripped the edge of the console, scanning the flickering monitors. Shadows moved where there shouldn't have been any. And then I saw it, a faint glimmer of light darting along the far wall. Not a reflection, not a glitch. Something living. "Did you see that?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the hum of the machinery. No reply. Only the metallic screech of shifting panels somewhere deeper in the station. The crew had scattered, each drawn to their own obsessions. But I felt it. This presence. Something intelligent, watching, waiting. My fingers brushed against a drawer filled with maintenance logs. They were old, decaying, yet the handwriting was meticulous, detailed. Every line told a story of a crew driven to extremes. Every entry hinted at fear. But fear of what? Then the lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed the corridor. My heart hammered as I felt the air shift, like a storm passing through a vacuum. Something cold brushed against my arm. I spun, but nothing was there. A low hiss followed, vibrating in my skull rather than the air around me. "Do you copy?" I shouted into the comms, though I knew it was useless. The station's signal was fragmented into static bursts that felt almost deliberate, as if the station itself was speaking in tongues. I remembered the map etched on the console in Part 4, the section marked in red ink, "Restricted access, do not enter." My curiosity overrode the fear. Step by step, I moved toward it, flashlight slicing through the darkness. The walls seemed to pulse, breathing, alive. Something scratched at the metal above me, a pattern, deliberate, intelligent. And then I saw it. A door, slightly ajar, steam leaking from its edges. Behind it, shadows moved like dancers in a nightmare. I pushed it open, heart in my throat. The room was vast, impossibly so, far larger than it should have been given the station's exterior dimensions. And there, at the center, a console unlike any other. Lights shimmered with colors I couldn't name. Symbols etched themselves into the floor, glowing faintly, reacting to my presence. I reached out, and the console pulsed, like a heartbeat, resonating with mine. Images flashed across the screen. Memories that weren't mine, places I had never been, faces that shouldn't exist. And then a whisper, clear as day, though no one was there. You were always meant to find this. I stumbled back, my mind racing. Why me? Why now? And before I could think further, the floor beneath the console shifted, opening into a descending spiral staircase, winding down into darkness deeper than anything I had imagined. I knew instinctively that the answers, or perhaps the end of everything. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. The spiral staircase swallowed me, and the door above me sealed shut with a hiss that echoed through the vast station. There was no turning back. The staircase descended endlessly, twisting like a living coil beneath the station. My flashlight flickered, and for a moment I thought I saw shapes pressed against the walls, silhouettes that mimicked my every movement. My pulse raced. Every instinct screamed to stop, to turn back, but the pull of the unknown was stronger. Whatever the station wanted me to see, it demanded compliance. At the bottom, the stairs opened into a cavernous chamber. The air was heavy, metallic, charged with static energy. In the center, a structure rose from the floor, a monolith of dark, reflective metal, its surface covered in markings that seemed to shift as I looked at them. I took a cautious step closer. Each step echoed unnaturally, bouncing back at me with voices. Fragments of conversations I had never had, cries of fear, laughter, murmurs of warnings. A faint hum emanated from the monolith. I reached out, and the metal felt warm, almost organic under my touch. Symbols glowed beneath my fingertips, rearranging themselves into patterns I could almost understand. And then the whispers became words. The key is inside you, the choice is yours. I stumbled backward, my mind struggling to comprehend. Inside me. What could they mean? The monolith pulsed, rhythmically, drawing me in. My thoughts scattered. I remembered Part 4's logs, the obsession, the fear, the slow descent into madness by the previous crew. Had they reached this point? Had they succumbed to whatever force lived here? A sudden vibration shook the chamber. The floor split slightly beneath me, revealing a deep, glowing fissure. From it rose shapes, humanoid, yet distorted, their features obscured by shadows, faceless yet terrifyingly aware. They moved toward me, silently, patiently. Every instinct screamed to flee, but my feet felt glued to the floor, drawn toward the monolith, toward the truth. I took a trembling step forward. The shapes halted, hovering just above the fissure. Then, with a motion that seemed to ripple the air itself, they bowed, as if acknowledging some ancient authority I could not see. The whispers became louder, almost deafening. You must choose to ascend, to transcend, or to fall. The monolith's surface began to ripple like water. Faces, hundreds of them appeared, each one fleeting, familiar, alien. Memories that weren't mine, emotions that weren't mine, all flowing through me in a torrent. And in the center, one face remained. My own, but older, scarred, eyes hollow yet knowing. It spoke without moving its lips. With a final glance at the fissure, the shadows, the impossible cavern, I stepped forward toward the monolith. The air thickened, light bending around me. The whispers surged into a singular voice, commanding and clear. Then step and claim what is yours. I took the last step, and the chamber dissolved into light, swallowing everything. The station groaned, alive and aware, as if marking the arrival of something new, something unstoppable. When the blinding light finally faded, I found myself in a space that defied reason. No walls, no ceiling, only an endless horizon of swirling colors, as if the station itself had unfolded into another dimension. The monolith hovered before me, pulsating gently, and I felt a connection, an almost physical pull, as if it could reach inside my mind. Images flashed across my vision, timelines I hadn't lived, events I couldn't have witnessed, a crew I had never met, facing horrors beyond comprehension, and in every timeline, every universe, A single constant. Me. My choices, my hesitation, my fear, all mirrored back in infinite variations. A voice now unmistakably mine whispered from the monolith, "You carry the potential, you will decide the fate." I tried to speak, but words failed. Instead, the monolith responded to my thoughts. A doorway appeared within it, shimmering, beckoning me forward. Behind the threshold, I glimpsed fragments of the station's true purpose. Experiments, evolutions, and a design that spanned beyond human understanding. Suddenly, the swirling horizon warped violently. Shadows erupted from nowhere, darker than night, moving with intent. They circled me, the monolith, the fissure, as if testing, judging. Each step I took caused the ground beneath me to ripple, reshaping the surreal terrain. The voices returned, a chorus of countless minds, warning, pleading, and some cheering. I realized then the choice wasn't just about survival, it was about transformation. To walk through the doorway would mean leaving everything I knew behind, embracing what the station demanded, becoming part of it. To retreat meant surrendering, letting the station consume me entirely, losing not just my life but my identity. Heart pounding, I lifted my hand toward the doorway. The shadows recoiled, as if acknowledging my courage. A sudden surge of energy coursed through me, sharp and electrifying, aligning my mind with something larger, something alive. I felt a strange clarity, a connection with the station and its infinite knowledge. And then a sound, low, resonant, like the heartbeat of the entire universe, filled the space. It commanded attention, demanded obedience, yet offered promise. I stepped closer, every nerve screaming, every memory trembling, and paused at the threshold. The monolith pulsed one last time, whispering, "Step forward or be forgotten." I inhaled, bracing for the unknown. The doorway shimmered brighter, inviting, threatening, alive. Somewhere deep inside, I knew the moment had come. I stepped. The world shattered around me. The moment I stepped through the doorway, the world around me fractured into shards of light and shadow, each fragment whispering memories I didn't recognize yet felt intimately mine. My body seemed to dissolve and reform simultaneously, weightless yet grounded, suspended in a space that bent reality itself. Shapes moved in patterns that defied logic, twisting and folding in on themselves. And I realized the station wasn't just alive, it was conscious, aware, testing me, observing my every thought, every instinct, measuring my resolve. The monolith hovered beside me, pulsating rhythmically, syncing with the rapid thrum of my own heart, and I felt a surge of understanding, a glimpse into the designs that had driven the station's previous occupants to madness. A low hum vibrated through me, resonating in my bones, and the whispers from countless minds coalesced into one, guiding, commanding, and warning simultaneously. I saw visions of what I could become, what I could lose, timelines stretching into infinite possibilities, each choice branching into paths I could neither fully comprehend nor ignore. The shadows that had haunted the fissure earlier now materialized as tangible forms around me, faceless yet aware, circling, probing, observing, pressing against the limits of my perception. I sensed the monolith responding to their presence, energy rippling outward, bending light and air, reshaping the space into something impossibly vast yet intimately personal. My mind raced, grappling with the enormity of it, the weight of decisions that no human had ever faced. And yet an instinctive clarity emerged. To retreat was to vanish, to surrender to the station's relentless will. But to step forward was to embrace transformation, to claim knowledge, power, and risk in equal measure. My hand extended toward the center of the monolith, where a pulsing core of energy beckoned, alive and aware, syncing with the rhythm of my very being. The shadows recoiled slightly, acknowledging the choice, and a surge of warmth coursed through me, filling every nerve, aligning my thoughts with something larger, older, and infinitely intelligent. The visions intensified, showing the station not as a place but as a mechanism for evolution, a crucible where those who dared could transcend ordinary existence, where fear, memory, and will fused into something greater. My breath caught as a resonant vibration filled the chamber, a sound that was felt as much as heard, commanding attention, demanding decision, and offering promise. I stepped closer, heart hammering, mind focused, the monolith pulsing in synchrony, and as I placed my hand on the glowing core, the light expanded, enveloping me, and the whispers crystallized into one final, Undeniable command, become. I let go of hesitation, of fear, and the station absorbed me, reshaping, revealing, transforming, and for the first time, I understood that nothing would ever be the same again. As the light from the monolith receded, I found myself standing in a chamber that seemed to exist outside time, its walls shifting between solidity and translucence, revealing glimpses of corridors I had never walked, rooms I had never entered, and skies that defied the laws of physics. The station itself hummed around me, a living entity, aware of every heartbeat, every thought, bending reality in subtle ways to test my perception. Shapes moved at the edge of vision, impossible angles folding in on themselves, and I sensed intelligence in the shadows, ancient and patient, observing my reactions, evaluating my choices. My hands trembled as I reached for a console floating midair, holographic symbols spinning in 3 dimensions, each glyph a question, a warning, a fragment of knowledge I could barely comprehend. The whispers returned, louder now, merging into a coherent cadence, guiding me, teasing me, hinting at truths that were just out of reach, promising power but demanding sacrifice. A sudden vibration surged through the chamber, and the floor rippled beneath me as though the station itself were breathing, alive, aware, shaping space to reveal its will. I realized then that the monolith had not just chosen me, it had integrated me, linking my consciousness to the station's vast intelligence, exposing memories of crews long vanished, experiments carried out in silence, obsessions and madness repeated like echoes through time. My vision blurred as images of potential futures flooded me. Victories, failures, transformations, annihilations, each more impossible than the last, yet all strangely familiar. The shadows coalesced into forms, humanoid but distorted, moving with deliberate grace, circling the monolith in me, pressing me to understand the weight of choice, the cost of knowledge, the fragility of the self. I took a hesitant step toward a doorway that had appeared in the center of the chamber, its edges shimmering with energy that seemed alive, beckoning yet threatening, and felt the pull of something immense, something that could either elevate me beyond human comprehension or obliterate me utterly. The monolith pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat, a silent confirmation, a promise, a challenge, and as I placed my hand on the doorway's surface, warmth and light surged through me, aligning my senses with the station's consciousness. I inhaled, accepting the uncertainty, embracing the transformation, and stepped forward fully, feeling reality bend, consciousness expand, and the world I had known dissolve into an infinite tapestry of energy, knowledge, and potential. In that moment, I understood that the station's purpose was not merely survival or exploration, but evolution, and that my journey was only beginning. The threshold of a reality where fear, memory, and will merged into something unstoppable. The moment I crossed the threshold, the air itself seemed to shimmer with energy, alive and responsive, reacting to my every thought, every movement. Colors I could not name swirled around me, folding and unfolding like living ribbons of light, and the station's hum became a resonance inside my skull, syncing with my heartbeat, my breath, my very consciousness. I felt the monolith's presence behind me, pulsating gently, a constant reminder that I was no longer separate from this place, that my mind and body were part of its intricate design. Shapes emerged from the shifting horizon, humanoid yet impossibly abstract, moving in silent patterns, circling, observing, pressing against the edges of perception. Each step I took altered the terrain, the laws of physics bending, walls dissolving into strands of light, floors folding into infinity, and yet I walked with certainty, guided by a force I could feel but not see. Memories that weren't mine surged through me, crews lost to the station, experiments beyond comprehension, knowledge that should have killed anyone unprepared, and with them came understanding, clarity, and a terrifying sense of responsibility. The doorway ahead shimmered, more vibrant than anything I had ever seen, a portal to a realm of potential and peril, and I sensed the shadows that had followed me now waiting at its edges, neither threatening nor friendly, only patient, as if the station itself demanded recognition of what I was about to undertake. My hands reached toward the portal, and the monolith pulsed in synchrony, a heartbeat echoing in the infinite space around me, affirming, challenging, promising. The whispers, once fragmented, now coalesced into a single voice, resonant and commanding. You are the threshold. You are the key. Step fully or remain forever. I hesitated for a fraction of a second, my mind racing through consequences, possibilities, fears, and desires, and then with resolve I stepped forward. The portal enveloped me in a cascade of light and sound, bending reality, folding time, and I felt my consciousness expand, merging with the station, merging with knowledge, with energy, with the infinite. The shadows flowed around me, merging into the light, becoming neither friend nor foe, but part of the transformation. Every cell, every thought, every memory reshaped, rewired, elevated. I understood the station's design, its purpose, and the staggering responsibility of the choice I had made. And then in the center of this boundless, pulsating reality, I realized this was not the end, but the beginning, the first step into a world where fear, comprehension, and will fused into something unstoppable, where I was no longer merely human, and yet more than I had ever imagined.